how many years has it been since we have talked? It's been forever.
I'd say probably since Keto FX, Paleo FX, Keto, whatever the keto show was in
Yeah,
Austin, probably.
it's been forever, and I've been
How
watching you off
are
and on.
you?
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
but welcome, welcome. I was happy to see you back active in the keto world, and we definitely are going to talk about like where you went, what happened, kind of because you a total transformation has happened in you, and it's
Huh?
beautiful to see. Like I've always admired you. I always tell people like in the early days of like keto kind of forming, you were one of those people. What was your branding back then?
It was Healthful Pursuit, same
That's
thing.
it.
Yeah, same
Health,
thing. Yeah.
yeah, Healthful Pursuit. And I was like, that's a good brand. Like, okay, we're all trying to pursue a more healthful lifestyle, and it's not keto, it's not low carb. You could be anything you want. At least with Living La Vida low carb, I kind of pegged myself. I have to be a little bit low carb, but I'm gonna be. So it's kind of ridden the wave of paleo and keto, and now into carnivore. So kind of
Totally.
yes. But guys, this is Leanne Vogel. Go follow her over on Instagram. She's literally all over the place, but Instagram's where I like to hang out. So I show people Instagram. Leanne spelled Leanne, last name Vogel. But I have known this little lady for a little while. She is the uber best-selling author of two books, The Keto Diet and The Keto Diet Cookbook, right? Isn't that the two?
And Keto for Women.
And keto for sorry, I didn't mean to
Right.
ignore that one. It's
That's
fun
okay.
when I wrote Keto Clarity, everybody like references Keto Clarity. I'm like, you do know I wrote the Keto Cure and Real Food Key.
Nah.
They always remember the one you're most famous for. So, but
Yep, it's very true.
girl, you have been on quite a journey these past couple of years because I think you went out and you found yourself. I think and for people that don't know, you and your husband, I love your husband, by the way. How's he doing? Is he doing good?
He's doing so well, and he does say hi. Kevin says hi to you and Christine also. Yeah, he's doing so well.
So you guys were out on a boat for a while, kind of traveling, and this is long before all the craziness in the world that happened last year. But you guys were really kind of doing this journey, and you were finding a bit of yourself. Share a little bit about like what happened. You were very successful in keto, and then all of a sudden you started talking about a lot of other things, not keto, and it got a little. I'm gonna be honest with
Weird.
you. You're my friend. You were very weird at times that I was like, I know she's on a journey. I just don't know where it's going to end up. So,
Neither did I. I had no idea that I'd be saved by Jesus. So, where do I start? So, yeah, my husband and I bought an RV back in 2017 and we started traveling all through North America and loved it. Then we had this crazy idea to buy a sailboat and sail everywhere. And we quickly realized that without sailing experience on a 60-foot catamaran, that was like a really poor choice. So though we did love being on the boat and meeting people, it was too much. It was too much boat. It was too much learning. So when everything happened in 2020, we decided now is a really great time to sell the boat and kind of see where we're at. But really when we got into the RV, we were driving around, putting the RV in storage, getting on a plane, doing a book tour. It was crazy. Like I was getting offers to go all these different places and all these different shows, and it was a dream come true. I had worked toward this goal for like 15 years. And
yes.
when it came, I was overwhelmed. I was completely stressed. I didn't have the proper tools in place and the people in place to really support.
Yes.
And I completely fell apart. And instead of
And I stop you there. That's the thing, people looking at people like us that have been successful authors, they must think we have people all around us that do it. What they don't know is everything about Healthful Pursuit and Leanne Vogel is Leanne Vogel. Everything about Jimmy Moore and Living La Vida Loca, it's all me. I've got a few people that do little things here and there, and so do you.
yeah,
But for the most part, when you see someone hustling and Scott Book, and they don't have this huge team of people that people assume that they have.
Yeah, exactly. And so all this stuff was coming at me. And instead of just being like, hey guys, I've written 3 books in 2 years. I'm exhausted. I'm
Yeah.
overwhelmed. My hormones are tanking. I just need a break. I got deceived. I wrapped myself around what I knew. And at that time, growing up in the new age practices that my mother had taught me and that were very common in my lifestyle, I dug my feet down, started wearing a ton of crystals, started talking to spirit guides, started doing channeling, started doing drugs again to try to speak with God. Like I just went off the deep end. And I remember my husband, Kevin, saying, hey, why don't you just take a break? And I was like, no, you won't tell me what to do. So it just got worse and worse and worse. And I lost a lot of followers. I completely ruined my business. And I went deep, 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 deep into the new age to the point where in April 2020, I was in a deep, deep depression. And that lasted for a couple of months. So it was really dark stuff. It was horrible. And I'm just so thankful to be on the other side of that. And I owe it all to Jesus. So we can definitely talk about that because I am so appreciative.
Well, and thank you, by the way, for being so forthright. Because I mean, people were writing me, "What's wrong with Leanne Vogel?" I'm like, I know, I'm looking,
Whoa.
I'm seeing, I'm observing, I'm caring from a distance. But it's like when people are in the midst of something, you almost let them kind of sit with the consequences of what they're doing. And I think that's kind of what was happening for you. Did you have many people reach out trying to help, or was it
No.
pretty you were all alone because everybody was going, I don't know what's going on, but I hope she finds what she's looking for?
Yeah, I really had nobody reaching out to me.
We
In
were all
retrospect,
scared. We were all scared. We didn't know what to write. We didn't know what to say.
exactly. And you know what? I think no matter I've thought about this a lot now living with the righteousness of Christ and just all of this that comes with choosing to be a Christian, is that I don't think no matter what anyone would have said to me, who would have said that they were praying for me or what was happening, I think I would have been really mean to them. So thankfully, I was just picked up and plopped into another place. It could have been very different. And I've definitely struggled with that now with the people that I know who are lost,
Yes.
who I'm seeing them deteriorate, especially with everything that's gone on these last couple of months.
Yes.
Um, I haven't tried. I think that I definitely want to see if that works to reach out to people, but it 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 upsets me that people thought it was so bad and saw that it was so bad that they were reaching out to other people and like I didn't see it. That's the thing. I didn't see it. I thought
Yeah.
everything was fine, but it wasn't.
Man, you are bringing up. So I'm so glad we're having this conversation today because you and I've been longtime friends.
Yeah.
Talked nearly enough. We're going to talk more after this podcast is over. But
Deal.
like, I think there's so much about our lives that we just kind of go through the motions of what we're expected to be. And for you, like you were trajectorying on the career path you were taking. I remember when I recommended your name to my publisher and they're like, whoa, we like this girl. And then you started sending in your manuscript. We really like this girl because you were really good and you were all, your ducks were in a row, you were organized. And I think maybe you were too set up for success that you up here weren't ready for yet, because
Amen.
you had probably the biggest book in keto circa what was it, 2015 when that book came out?
2017. So it was a whirlwind.
It was right at the very
Hmm.
beginning of when keto as a big trend in the mainstream started, and you were a part of that. You had the biggest keto book out there that year, and people were flocking to you, and you were growing, and you're at 128,000 now. What were you at your peak on Instagram?
I think around 180,000, but
Yeah.
I'm not good with numbers. I'm
Well,
good with macros, but
it was
not numbers.
more than it is now. But the point is, you were growing and you had this modicum of success. So I think even in your best case scenario, you didn't imagine just how successful you were going to be.
Yeah, and I love that you brought that up because I really didn't have the mental, like when everything started happening, I was like, I don't know anything. why are they wanting to have me on? They could literally ask anyone else. I don't have the credentials. I don't have, I just went to school for nutrition, but I don't know what that just really affected me of just feeling like and believing that I couldn't do it. And
Was it imposter syndrome, Leanne?
you know what? I'm probably sure that it is. It was. Yeah. Yeah, I would say that it was definitely imposter syndrome.
And
Yeah.
see, at least you had the nutrition background. Like I get it a lot when I'm asked to kind of do things, and I don't have any letters after my name by design. I love being Jimmy Moore, empowered patient, educating. That's kind of always been my shtick. And so I've been offered letters after my name. The Nutritional Therapy Association offered me an NTP to go through their course, and I turned it down just because I feel like I'm more empowered as a patient. But when you got like nutritionists and you're trying to compete with people that have MD, PhD, RD after their name, it can be intimidating, I suppose.
Yeah, and also I've never been one to be able to communicate. Like I have some learning disabilities. Specifically, I have a hard time sometimes communicating because of my ADHD. And so sometimes when I'm describing things, I can get very detailed in how somebody's feeling, but I have a very hard time being like, this enzyme does that. And like I understand it, but to properly communicate it has always been very challenging for me. And so that was just like playing in the back of my head constantly. Like, if somebody asks about this enzyme, how are you going to explain that? And what if they try to trick you? And my head played games on me. And instead of just relax and maybe talk to a therapist, which I ended up hiring a really good therapist after everything happened, I doubled down, and that double down was, oh, well, I'll pay somebody to do Reiki for me every 3 days, and I'll hire a emotional freedom coach to try to help me tap into new, like it was so far out there, and it just didn't help. It made it worse, and it crumbled everything.
So let's do a full dissertation on the fat breakdown enzyme lipase. So you're on. No, I'm just kidding.
Not exactly.
Just went.
Exactly. Like I'm my skill is understanding people's bodies. I'm so intuitive that way. You have a conversation with me and I will provide some really good feedback as to what could be going on just intuitively, and how I understand how keto works and hormones work. I can tell you, but
Well,
those details scares me. Like I'm so scared of being challenged.
you're so successful because you have a very popular podcast, and you have books where you've articulated this. You do lots of videos, or at least you did. Are you still doing videos?
We are, yeah. I got back on that in August. Yeah.
So you're very good behind the microphone, on camera, because they feel like they're talking to somebody who talks like them, who understands them. And we need all the nerdy people. We need the Dominique Yaga
Yeah.
out there. We need the Eric Westmans out there. But we need some Jimmy Moore and Leanne Vogels that can kind of translate and relate, not just translate information, but relate in as much
Yes.
for humans that people see themselves in us. And I think that's the magic of what has made Leanne Vogel so special for so long.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And now seeing that is really beautiful. And I didn't see that before, and I didn't see that as a strength. I saw it as a weakness. So it's been a really interesting transformation over the last year to just accept that I am how I am, and this is how I deliver it. And that has been successful.
So you became Popeye. I am what I am.
I love it.
Do you eat spinach too? Ah, gah, 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 gah. So funny.
I like spinach now and again.
It was so funny. They had a can of spinach and he would grow muscles. I'm thinking, no, if they really wanted him to grow muscles, they'd give him a big ass ribeye and he'd
Yeah,
shoot it.
steak.
Because there's nominal iron and there's no protein in spinach. That's
Yeah,
weird.
so small, so small. And, the iron is not accessible, right? So you're having all this iron, but then you need vitamin C and the whole bit. And like, he wasn't eating oranges. So I don't know what happened there.
We need to go through like all these images we saw as kids. And was that like that was related to food? Was that legit? Like the
That's so
two apples
true.
that really keep the doctor away? Like what did the apples do?
Uh,
All
so
right. So you had this transformation just under a year ago. Tell us what happened, because you were deep in the throes of depression, really at your deepest, darkest point, and you found the Lord. So what did that look like? Did somebody come in your life? Were you seeking it out and it just happened to manifest? Tell that story.
yeah, it really just happened to manifest. So I had been channeling and doing new age practices for about a year. And my husband and I relationship was completely falling apart. Our marriage was in shambles. And March 2020 was when things started to get really, really, really bad. Our boat got hit by another boat. It was a whole big thing. And all my deepest fears came true when it came to being on the water and, again, feeling like, what am I doing? How should I do this? I don't even know anything about boats. And so, yeah, we moved into a home. We were selling our boat and started working with a therapist, a couples therapist, to help us because it was a mess. We were fighting nonstop, yelling all the time, like yelling, not just yelling, but like yelling. And I just doubled down more. I hired two different coaches at the same time. I started doing embodiment practices, and perhaps some people saw on Instagram, I was posting like rage videos where I would just throw stuff around in my home. And I thought this
That
was a
was weird.
healthy way to express,
That was
um,
weird.
yeah, emotions. And I had a couple people message me and say, that's really scary. I think you need help. And I'm like, I have help. Like, I don't need your help. Unfortunately, I just had a lot of anger and frustration and hate in my heart. Like I was just felt very entitled, and also, working through new age practices, one of the biggest lessons that I was learning is that I'm the boss of everything and whatever I do goes. And so I would use my heart as a way to tell me what's next. So if I wanted to do XYZ, if I felt like that, then I could do it. And that's a very dangerous place to be in. We know that the heart is deceitful and desperately sick. Who can understand it? Jeremiah 17:9. Like our hearts are not in a good place. And I was sitting on a class with a teacher, and this was in September. And she said, tap into your God self. And Jimmy, this is something that I had heard hundreds of times, that I had taught on as I was starting up my other practice and new age practices. Tap into your God self. And oh, it still just like rocks me. I don't have a God self. There is no God self in here. What I'm doing is not working. I'm lost. I need help. I need a savior. And then it was like this, like something happened. It was just like, who's Jesus? I need to know who Jesus is. This is not working. I need help. And so I closed my laptop and I grabbed my phone and I was like, how do I buy a Bible? I had never read a Bible. I didn't know where to go for Bibles. Do I have to go to a church to get a Bible? Like, I don't even know.
That there's an app for that.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. So I ordered an ESV Bible, an ESV study Bible on Amazon. It arrived, and I just started reading.
Yeah.
And as I was waiting for my Bible to arrive, I realized that everything I was sharing, everything I was doing was so incredibly deceived. My spirit guides were directing me in a very wrong place. These were not angels of light. They were not angels of light. And all these little whispers in my ear was not God communicating to me. And so I went online and I apologized, and I publicly repented of the things that I had posted, the information I had shared, the deceit that I had passed on, the money that I had taken from people with sessions. I canceled everything. I deleted everything. I removed everything. And I started sharing keto again, in addition to getting to know the Lord. And that was September 13th.
The day you came back online and you had a picture of your face in the photo on Instagram, I was like, there's the Leanne I know. And you were back. But there was more than that. It was the Leanne I know and love, but it was also a joy in her eyes. Like, I could tell when you were in the midst of all that turmoil, which, thank you again for the context. It makes so much sense now. When you were in the midst of that, you could even You could even say, I'm getting emotional about it because I'm like remembering all that, and you could tell a demon was in your life. And it
Yes. In
like,
in my body, multiple of them.
what's that?
In my body, multiple of them. And I actually invited them in. Like, yeah.
And a lot of people are into the new age, and if that's your thing, and you're happy, okay, cool. But truly, people won't find happiness till they find the Prince of Peace, who gives you that joy and happiness in your heart. And I'm not trying to make this overly religious, but it is a part of the story, a major part of the story. And I am crying,
Major.
wipe my eyes a little bit.
Me too. Glad I didn't wear mascara today.
This is real talk. When we talk on this show, we talk really real, and that's the way we do it here. But like, I feel like your story is so common. It may not be exact. It may not be getting hit by another boat and thinking you're going to be the Titanic, and then yelling at your husband and thinking you're going to have trouble there, and then, oh my gosh, trying to find myself, and then wham, I don't have a God.
Jesus.
What? Like, that was the thing that woke you up. It's not like somebody said something specifically to you. It's not like you were witnessed to by somebody knocking on your door. It was just organic. The hollowness, I guess, started screaming out from within.
Yeah, I felt that hollowness for so long, and that, that gaping hole that you talked about. It's just, we were created as humans to worship God. And so when we're trying to find something to fill that spot with anything other than God, you will just keep searching and searching and searching. And that's where it was. And in that moment, I was like, this isn't working. And yeah, I mean, no one shared the gospel with me. And this is what, now that I've almost read through the whole Bible, I have like 3 books left. It's been a hustle. I didn't know what the gospel was until I read the gospel and then started talking with friends. So it's been such a whirlwind. And just, if somebody would have told me, a year ago that I'd be having this conversation and quoting bits of scripture, no way. No, 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 no. But am I thankful that it's not what I thought it was going to be? Like,
Yeah, and it's beautiful. I'm just going to repeat that again. Like when I saw you come back on, hey guys, I'm back. That beautiful spirit that I knew and loved years ago was back. And you could tell there was an infusion of something different. I didn't quite know the Jesus element just yet, but now it's obvious. It oozes off of you. And I assume ostensibly this transformation helped repair your marriage, and things are great there and awesome. I mean, you two are a beautiful couple. How long you been married?
we got married in 2014. So we
Okay.
celebrate our anniversary next month, actually. So it'll be 7 years this year.
7 years. That's awesome. So awesome. That's just amazing. Like, so how has this experience transformed you and made your business better? Besides the obvious, you yourself, you are the business. Like, if you take Jimmy Moore away from Living La Vida Low Carb, it's dead. There is no business. Same with Leanne Vogel. Like, you take you out of the business, you are the business. You're the name, your
There's
face,
nothing left.
thing. So how has this changed your business?
Yeah. So, when I just recently came back in October, so it's still quite fresh. And a couple weeks into starting to read the Bible and starting to, meet up with Christians and wanting to spend time with them and like enjoying it is so weird. I got really inspired to create a weight loss program of all things. In the past, I'd always steered away from weight loss because I had a history of an eating disorder, but I actually have a lot to say on weight loss and a lot to provide in regards to hormone balancing and weight loss and the keto choices that we make. And so I launched a 6-week keto weight loss program, and it filled up in like a week. And so I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing this.
Well, and I think tried and true people don't just dump you. Like, I've known you and you've been a great friend for many years. I didn't stop following you. I just stopped actively looking at what you were posting during that period. I'm like, she'll eventually get back to every once in a while, maybe posting about keto instead of this weird stuff. And truth be told, in my own work, I've been talking a lot about the virus. I've been talking a lot about the shot in the arm and different things because it's of interest and related to health. But I've gotten some loss of followers because of doing that, and it's cool. But most of my followers know you're getting good information that's going to help you make an informed decision about your health. That's always been my mantra. I don't always have to go, yay, rah, rah, keto, low carb. I've done that 16 years now, almost 17. So it's like,
Yeah.
talk about some other things every once in a while, people.
It has, yeah, you're right. It has to evolve also with the person. Like when you are the business, it's a very challenging position to be in. And had I gone deep into the new age and worked for a website and blah, 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 it wouldn't have been an issue. But because I am Leanne and Leanne is Healthful Pursuit, it's really hard to separate all the other things that we're passionate about and all the other things that are going on in our lives. And so it's been really fun to like get back into keto. You know, I'm definitely sharing keto content now. There's a lot of Jesus also, and that's going to be part of it. It's been really fun. You know, I was on a one-on-one call with one of my clients the other day, and it was the first time. Oh, there I am. It was the first time when working with a client where I felt like bringing up devotionals and certain parts of scripture would be helpful for her. And we had a long conversation about her spiritual practice and her relationship to God. And so to be able to kind of weave in that healthy spiritual health into my practice has been amazing. And I got very excited after. I was like, whoa, I was like so convicted to share this. And the client actually liked it. Like, so it's been so fun to kind of merge the two together.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a fine line there because some people may be like, well, I'm not interested in your Jesus stuff. I'm not interested in the Bible. Just give me the diet stuff. And you would respect that. But you're still going to stay true to who you are. And if you feel led in your heart, sorry, I'm getting choked up again. If you feel led in your heart to share, most people are going to be cool about that. So even if they don't believe.
Yeah, completely. In this case, she was a Christian, so it felt like a safe place to
Right.
say like, "Hey, how's your relationship to Jesus? What's going on?" But yeah, it's definitely informed all aspects. And I really I think my issue from years ago was that I so hyper focused on my business. What is this going to do to my business? How is this going to inform my business? What is this going to do? Blah, blah, blah. I am my business. I've really taken, coming back to it as like, I love sharing content on social media. I love creating my podcast, but I'm no longer worried. Like, I don't really care. And I mean that in a very healthy boundary for Leanne way of like,
Yeah.
it's going to be what it is.
I just wrote a post as of the recording of this on today, all about how most of our lives, most of us have lived what other people expect us to live, not our own lives, their version of what they think we should be doing with our lives. And it starts as a kid and it goes into adulthood. And most people just obediently follow, well, I'm expected to be this, I'm expected to do that. And they never really forge their own path and be who they are. And I've taken that same journey about the last year and a half myself, Leanne, where I'm more of, you know what? I'm going to be Jimmy. Like, Jimmy's pretty cool. I like this guy.
Jimmy's
He's
cool.
going on. He may not be the cup of tea of everybody, but at least you know what you see is what you get.
Exactly. Exactly. And there was a very, my maiden name is Leanne Vogel, and I got married 7 years ago. I don't even go as Leanne Vogel in my personal life. And so I created an entire persona of Leanne Vogel. And clearly that didn't work for me because it all blew up in my face. And so I've really just, what you see is what you get. I struggle. I love Jesus and I eat keto, and, I got sick a couple of weeks ago and my digestion's killing me. So now I'm doing a carnivore thing for a bit. And this is just what you get.
Well, and I think it's unreasonable for people to think, people like you and me, for example, who've been at this a very long time. When did you start Healthful Pursuit?
2010, and I started like sharing stuff in 2008. So yeah.
Yeah, been around a little while. You came a few years after me. And so when you've been around this long, you don't stick around because you keep doing the same thing every year, the exact same thing. You would lose people left and right because they're like, all right, you're old news. I've heard you before. But when you keep it fresh, like the show you're on now is called Real Talk. It used to be called Keto Talk. It's not that I'm disinterested in keto. It's just, okay, that kind of ran its course. I'm ready to talk about more than just keto. Let's talk real life stuff. Let's get people that I know and love on and talk about interesting things that have happened to them that's real. Because what you went through, a transformation, is just a microcosm of what other people have been through in their own life and their own journey. Or maybe they're in the midst of it and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on. And they're going to hear your story today and go, oh my gosh, Leanne, you just woke me up. I'm going to get out of my whatever it is. So you evolve and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I get a lot of the whole stay in your lane stuff. I'm like, my lane is what I'm interested in. So I'm not sure what you mean by my lane. I guess they mean keto, but anytime I go off of keto, they rail against me.
And I think it's a really good way to check our hearts too as we interact with other people's content, like we expect a certain thing from somebody. And unfortunately, or fortunately, we get most of those things for free. All the people I follow on social media, I've received so many gifts from them on a daily basis. Encouragement, whether it be physical, to get outside, or emotional, to take care of my emotional health, spiritual, whatever it is. That we sometimes forget that these people are sharing this content because they're really passionate about it, but they're also humans and they also are passionate about other things. And I think getting to know other people that way and really getting to see who they are can help inform the recommendations they're providing. I think we can get so stuck in like, Jimmy shares this and Jimmy likes this and Jimmy does this. And then when Jimmy does something different, they're like, what do you mean? No, that's not the picture that I had created about you. But I think that's a great opportunity to be like, okay, how can I challenge my ideas of who this person is and what they could potentially share outside of what I expect them to share? But again, it's all free. And if you don't like it, then you can unfollow or go somewhere else or mute them for a while and check yourself. And you know what I mean? I think it's really important that we understand that so much of this stuff is free. And these people are so passionate about helping others that it's going to change.
Yeah, it was so funny. It was about 3 or 4 years ago. It was Easter Sunday. I'm a Christian. And so on Easter Sunday, I said, oh, today's the day that we celebrate Jesus rose from the grave and died for our sins, rose from the grave. And we celebrate that today here on this Easter Sunday. Didn't think it was controversial in the least. I wasn't like any overtly like trying to witness to people. I was just sharing what any Christian would do on Easter Sunday. In the comments, Leanne, you should have seen, oh my gosh, how dare you share anything about Christianity? You need a separation of church from your work. And I'm just going, okay, if you like Jimmy Moore, the keto, low carb, cool guy that you see online doing all the content, you also have to like Jimmy Moore, the Christian, because it's the same guy.
It's the same guy. It's the same guy.
And
yes.
So, like,
mic drop.
Exactly. Like you're so right. Like, we love to kind of compartmentalize what people are. People look at Sean Baker. He's a guy that lifts very heavy weights and he eats a lot of meat. And that's what we think about him. But maybe he's a violinist. And maybe He gets on there and he does a little violin. I would trip out. But by the way, Sean, if you play the violin, I'm gonna like drop my jaw to the ground because I will be so shocked. But like, we need to honor the human being behind this. Like, I want to know more about Leanne Vogel, more the human being Leanne Vogel. Now, you're showing us a bit of your heart here today and being very honest about what you went through to get where you are. But like, to me, I love showing those parts of myself that people are like, whoa, I didn't know Jimmy was that. I didn't know he was into that and da-da-da. Even if it's something I don't agree with, at least I'm like, that's a diversified human being.
Yeah, because we all are. Like, I don't know of any human being that's not diversified. Like, it's just like when you meet a new friend, I've been meeting a lot of new friends recently, and just to like get to know them. I mean, first they take off their mask the first time. I'm like, I didn't think your mouth was going to look like that. That's so cool, And then just like getting to know somebody further, it's like you're always discovering something else. And I think if it's really challenging with the internet, and I've definitely been struggling with this recently. Like, so much of it is so fake and so inauthentic, and just such a struggle lately to even show up personally. I know a lot of my other friends are feeling this way too. It doesn't help when, we jump on and we feel forced almost to not share what's going on in our lives, and we just put on this joyful face when we just want to like be in our pajamas and say I'm staying in and doing nothing, like because that's sometimes just how humans feel, and I think sharing that is so healthy.
Yeah, I'm visualizing that now, so thank you for that image. But like, yeah, I'll talk about that sometimes when I'm doing interviews or whatever, and I'll talk about, oh yeah, so I was standing out in the sun, buck naked in the backyard today. I've got a privacy fence, so nobody sees me. And people are like, you can't say that. I'm like, but I did. Like, am I supposed to just like sugarcoat that somehow?
Just adding layers on,
Adding
and
layers.
I think ultimately it's about, I rarely share something that is completely revolved around pointlessness. Like, every
Yeah.
time I pick up my phone or every time I sit down at my computer, even if I'm sharing something about my life, it's because I'm trying to use it as a lesson for myself or for others, to try to communicate a point or something, or to try to communicate what I'm excited about, because I feel like maybe they should be excited about it, or look at it maybe differently, how I look at it, or how do they look at it, just to start these conversations. So I think, yeah, it's always a challenge when you pick up the phone. It's like, what am I trying to say here?
Well, and going back to the fakery and the inauthenticity that's out there, it's been that way for a few years in my eyes. Like, no offense to those people that do this, but there are certain people, they're so safe all the time. Oh, new recipe, and a beautiful picture in your recipe maker, so you know what that's like. But it's like, that's all they do. I don't know anything about the human being behind the recipe. I don't know anything about their life. Now, sometimes you go in their stories and you might see a little thing here and there, but it's not front and center in what they do. It's like, can we all just open up, be a little more who we are? If you go to my page lately, Leanne, and I highly encourage that you do that on Instagram, I'm extremely introspective and like talking about some of the work happening with me and trying to encourage people and challenge people, because that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where you're connecting with people. Yes, recipes have their place, and it's wonderful that they're out there, but after a while, if that's all I see, I don't know who you are.
Yes, and I have a bunch of friends in the travel blogging industry, because we kind of got into that now that we're full-time travelers, and they have very strict boundaries about what they share, what they don't. Same with the health industry, what they share, what they don't. Even like some of my hairstylist friends, what they share, what they don't. Some of it's all hair, some of it's like how they manage to eat while doing hair for 18 hours a day. And so I think it's what people are comfortable with. And it's interesting, when I started out online, I was very closed off and I didn't share a lot. And over time I was like, oh, but if I share this, I could educate on that. And some people just don't want to do that. And I'm like so happy for them that that's cool and they're able to share. And usually their food photos are so much prettier than mine ever have been, because they've mastered that whole thing. But I think it's just like different approaches for different people. But like for me, I think being as upfront and honest has always helped. But when I'm going through a massive hot messery of depression and drug usage, I should probably like get help and not share that on social media, so
Yeah,
lesson
there
learned. Too
is
much.
lots of oversharing. You're right.
Exactly. Exactly.
I've got one friend locally, and she drives me nuts because she'll go on Facebook, and if it's she's poor, so, oh, woe is me. My kid keeps asking about Nintendo Switch. I just wish there was some way I can. And it's so obvious what she's doing. And people will usually, oh, it's all right. Can I send you some money? Oh, really? And it's like that's nauseating to another level. Don't share your life like that. That's no. But But yeah, I agree with you. I think there is that fine line of, are you comfortable with it? Are you willing to share that part of your life? I can tell you the people I connect with the most are the ones that do that. Because if I don't know the human being behind the content doesn't really have the same weight as someone who shares that content and says, I'm struggling. I gained 20 pounds during 9-1 DIVOC and it's driving me crazy and da da da. Wow, that's real. Like, I want to hear what they have to say because it draws me in rather than, oh, my world is perfect. Here's a recipe. My world is everything's fine. Here's my polished article that I've written for you, and I'm over that.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you mentioned the whole my world is fine. Here's a recipe. Like, I think that's one of the big problems that caused me to fall off the rails as hard as I did because I was trying to hold up everything absolutely perfect and like here's my perfect life. Everything is great. That when things started to crumble, I tried to keep it all up and you can only hold it all together for so long until it completely falls all over you. And so I guess if anyone's listening who's, working on their online business and working really hard at it and hustling, and I remember what that was like, just like checking in with yourself and making sure that you're being authentic and vulnerable, even for yourself, to just notice, like, am I actually joyful right now? Like, am I actually enjoying this? Am I actually sharing what I need to share? Am I being effective with this? Because I didn't ask those questions. And in retrospect, when I had a complete, utter anxiety attack, I was in Vegas with our publisher, and I had a complete anxiety attack that put me in the hospital for 2 days. And
Whoa.
instead of being like, yeah, maybe I'm like, I need some help with this, I was just like, okay, let's go. Let's go. Like, no, that was a really poor choice. Um, yeah, lesson learned on that one.
Yeah, and I think everybody gets to that point. And I think with all that's happening, you mentioned the chaos the last few months. I would say the last year has been chaos. Like, people now more than ever before just looking for what's real. And so if you stand out because you're willing to say things and be who you are authentically, people notice that and they flock to that. So I'm really happy to see you're doing that now. I want to hit on, since you've created a 6-week plan for it, what are some of these little secrets and steps that people can do to help kind of normalize their hormones and get that weight loss going? Because a lot of people did gain weight in 2020 and they're looking for little tips. I know you don't want to give the whole shebang away because you got a program. How can they get the program? Is it on your website?
Yeah, if you go to healthfulpursuit.com and click on the shop, you'll see the 6-week program there. We're running one right now, and I'm going to be running one again in June. So it's a 6-week group coaching. So I take women through 6 weeks. We meet every week, and then we have a Facebook group. We communicate every day and kind of run through it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to the shop. So just go to healthfulpursuit.com, click on the shop, and then you'll see the 6-week program. I think the direct link is healthfulpursuit.com/6-week, like the number 6. So you guys can check that out. And I think the first part is understanding what hormone imbalance is. And congratulations, if you're a woman between the ages of 20 and 80, you probably have some sort of hormone dysregulation issue. It's quite common for women to have either really, really high estrogen or really, really low estrogen, usually low progesterone, always high or low testosterone, depending on whether or not you have PCOS, high or low DHEA, depending on whether or not you have PCOS. If you have insulin issues, that's also a hormone, so that can inform a lot of your hormones. So really understanding that hormones dictate your heart rate, your gut health, your development, your body temperature. Okay, so if you're having hot flashes or you're always cold, those are some indications that there's probably something wrong with either your thyroid or your estrogen levels. I already talked about blood sugar and insulin, and understanding that if you're testing your glucose and it's all over the place, it's just about guaranteed that you have an issue with progesterone, also DHEA. probably testosterone also, because DHEA is a precursor to testosterone. Appetite, metabolism. If you are gaining weight just by looking at a cupcake and you're like, what's going on? Or your weight has changed. Those are like some big epic pieces. And then going further to that, so you've determined, you know, I'm a woman between the age of 20 and 80, and something Leanne just said, yep, that sounds like a hormone issue. The first step is, are you still ovulating or having a period, or are you not? So if you are not, then likely you're in menopause or you have amenorrhea. If you are supposed to get a period, then there's certain things that you can do on your ketogenic diet to start to regulate your cycle, whether you have one or not. If you're in menopause, your structure is going to be very different because your adrenals actually support many of your sex hormones now that you've experienced menopause. Congratulations! You can follow the ketogenic diet a lot more hardcore than somebody who's maybe in their 30s, still fertile. We have to follow a different ketogenic diet. And this isn't for everybody. Like, there are hardcore carnivores that eat animal proteins all day, every day, and their hormones are perfect. There are keto people that do the same, but then there are the people that have tried the ketogenic diet, it's not working, or they get to the certain level, their willpower, quote unquote, dies off, and they're like, I just need a sweet potato. So if you're one of these people and you just can't go long term on a ketogenic diet and you're really struggling, it's probably because your body's saying, like, if you're craving an orange and you're like, all I want is an orange, what's wrong with me? Chances are you're craving that orange between days 18 and 28 of your cycle. Well, why would I say that? Well, because an orange actually helps boost our progesterone. In days 18 to 28 of our cycle, that's when our progesterone is going to be the highest. And so having that orange during that time actually encourages our progesterone to increase, which is what we want it to do, to regulate our hormones. So all those little things, you know, within the program, we talk about how to regulate the progesterone and estrogen, because when those are regulated, when your estrogen is not too high, you're able to lose weight. When it's not too low, you actually increase it, so your energy increases and you can do like weightlifting and actually gain muscle. And same with progesterone. If your progesterone is too low and you're working out or doing endurance at the end of your cycle and you're not having that increase in your heart rate, it's not good, and you're not going to be able to lose weight because of that, because your heart rate isn't going where it needs to go in order to burn fat. So all these little intricate pieces, because keto is an endocrine based diet, we need to support our endocrine system, which is our hormones. And so understanding how the ketogenic diet can change with your cycle, and also change as you experience menopause and into cycling different foods, cycling different protocols, cycling your fasting. Even as a woman on the ketogenic diet, you can tap into these little pockets where our hormones are lower and naturally lower, where it's great to fast. Whereas you wouldn't want to do a fast, say you say, I want to do a 72-hour fast. You would never do that during ovulation, because chances are you're going to have a horrible cycle, or it just will be delayed. And so understanding that the cycle really is the backbone to our health. And when our hormones are regulated, we're having good sleeps, we're choosing good foods, our willpower is increasing, our motivation is up, and that informs our ability to stay on and feel excited about the ketogenic diet. So that's I know I get really excited about this because it's like, it's so great. So that's kind of like a little intro.
This is going to help me so much the next time I have a cycle. So
you're welcome, Jimmy.
Is there such a thing as menopause?
I love it, menopause. I'm not sure about that. Probably not. It's really cool though, because guys have like a 1-day cycle, and so your days are like Groundhog Day, but women, it's like every day is different.
Isn't it called andropause, guy? Anyway. It's fun hearing you talk keto again. Is it like a bicycle? Because like you spieling all that off, that's old school Leanne Vogel that I remember. I've listened to many of your podcasts, and so you do have the gift of gab. You do know how to talk and not take a breath. And so you're really good at that. And so it's kind of fun seeing you do that. I find myself sometimes, because I used to work in the Christian music industry as a disc jockey. And so I know all the little people that were out there in the like late 90s, early 2000s in the Christian music world. So somebody gets me going, and I find myself falling back into that again. And I'm like, Whoa, like
What?
up there. So like same thing for you. And it's not been that long ago that you were talking keto, but it's like riding a bicycle for you.
It really is. And, I was still eating keto during everything that happened. And it was about a year that I was gone, not sharing keto content. Coming back to it, I actually had a lot of new ideas and a
Yeah.
lot of new inspiration. And I've been working with clients a lot more one-on-one, which I stopped doing because I was so busy. And that's been a beautiful gift to be able to work one-on-one with clients and start to see different patterns that I didn't see before because I was overworked and totally stressed. I've actually started to kind of toying around with the idea just lightly about going back to school. So it's been fun to kind of have a new energy around the whole thing and kind of see where my gifts are, what I'm interested in, and what I don't ever want to talk about again as it relates to the ketogenic diet, like kind of what my niche is. Like I'm just niching it out even further. So that's really fun.
Yeah. So I went away on a 6 month sabbatical while you were going through
I
uh,
saw.
your life. So September through March 1st last year, I was gone. September 1st to March 1st. And I come back 2 weeks later, the virus. I'm like, ugh.
Oh.
And so, but that 6 months was so transformational for me. I came back, I dealt with some childhood trauma, like revelations about that when I went away. Um, and so, like, so many things changed in me that when I came back, like you now, I couldn't help but want to integrate that into my work, that being that more authentic who I am, trying to be more of a connecting with people on a human to human level rather than just being an information provider. I wanted literally to be a tit for tat back and forth with people. I lost a bunch of friends last year, uh, and gained new ones, and it was just it's just amazing when you kind of do this work on yourself, especially those of us in the arena like you and I was overworked. I needed to back away, and it just rejuvenated me to the point that I like where I am now as a man. I like who I am. I like what I project. I like the messages I do. Don't always resonate with people, and that's okay. Not everybody's going to like the Jesus you share about, Leanne, but that's okay because they now know that's who you are.
Yeah, and I mean, I should have taken a page out of your book and in last September been like, "Peace, I'm leaving for 6 months," but I didn't. So well done on that, Jimmy. I'm sure
Well,
that felt really great.
it, with consequences, because in the midst of the 6 months, I thought I would work on myself and lose weight and get buff. And what happened was everything but that. It ended up being an emotional type of thing. I separated from my wife during that time as well, and it was a tough time trying to evaluate what I was doing in my life and where I'm going. And so we all have those moments. And you went through your moment. My God, you went through some really dark darks. Makes me feel better about my own journey. I had darks, but not that dark. And so we all have those moments. And I think what I want people watching and listening to this right now, I just want them to take away. It's okay if you have to go find yourself and just recognize when you're not yourself. Recognize when you're living a life that you can't sustain and you need to make changes, make them happen.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought that up. And I'm sorry to hear about your separation and what you were experiencing last year. And I think what I didn't receive during the time that I hope that people will lean on me for if they're going through a dark time is just message me. And
Yes.
I didn't really have anyone that I could go to for help. Even if it's just an ear or you just need an Instagram buddy or you're curious about God. I'm doing so many different devotionals with so many different people and just like being there with humans where I didn't have that. And so, yeah, if there's anyone who's listening who needs that, I am so happy to chat with you on Instagram and provide resources that are available at Leanne Vogel, because I didn't have that option. And I think even hearing that when I was at my darkest would have been really helpful. And I didn't hear that. And it's really lonely when you're going through something so incredibly scary and you're feeling
Yeah.
like it's super dark and you don't know where to turn, And yeah, it's really scary.
I'm very grateful because I have a best friend. Her name's Brittany. We do a podcast together now called One Step Deeper, where we kind of get into issues because it was conversations I would have with her that would then go really deep. And I'm thinking, whoa, like that was like so life altering for me. We need to
Mm.
share that. So we made a podcast about it. But she's been there through all the ups and downs of everything in my life. And she's been through some stuff herself. And so I'm very grateful. If I did not have her and a few other people that checked in every once in a while, like when I was on sabbatical, a lot of people, oh, we'll check in on you. I had maybe 6 people check in on me, and there were about 60 to 100 that said they would. 6, and 1 regularly, Brittany. And so it's so funny, like when you have expectations of what you think people will be and do, and you think you
Oh,
have friends, and then those so-called friends just abandon you, that
the,
hurts.
the expectation thing I think is really, really big and something that I've struggled with for a very long time. And I've become very conscious to when I say things. Like, it's okay if you're too busy and you don't have the ability to support somebody else because you have a lot going on, don't say you're going to be there.
Right.
And that I think, like, if we're just checking ourselves, like, do I have time to support this other person right now? Do I have the capacity mentally, emotionally, physically to support this person right now? If I do not, then I shouldn't offer it. Like, and I think we constantly need to be checking in on that. And I agree with you. Having a best friend, like my husband was so supportive as he could be, but when your marriage is deteriorating, like you don't
Yeah.
really have a buddy there. And so many of my friends didn't understand what was going on, and my
Right.
family's really, really, really far away. And so having that support system, I think if you don't right now, is working on developing that through even a great counselor, like just having somebody that you can go to talk with is really, really helpful.
Well, and then the virus didn't help matters when they locked people down. You couldn't travel, you couldn't,
Yeah.
all this kind of stuff. So many confounding variables that have made this last year more challenging. But 2021 is going to be our year, girl. It's going to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's already been such a beautiful year. Like, I have no complaints. Life is amazing. And of course, there are things and challenges. My digestion's a mess from getting sick, and I'm dealing with not being able to eat like anything. And like, it is what it is, and we're handling it fine. I just found out I had a parasite, so now I get to kill that little guy. So that's really fun. So, it's gonna be a good year. I named him. His name is Bob. He's going to die.
Dun, dun, dun. Bye, Bob.
Goodbye, Bob.
Guys, go check her out, Leanne Vogel, over on Instagram. And yeah, I have a feeling you're back in the groove of who you are. Your tribe will find you again. The people you lost, some of them will never come back. Understandable.
Okay.
But you're going to get brand new people. Like keto is still kind of this emerging kind of thing in the consciousness of a lot of people. We take it for granted because we've talked about it forever. I mean, this book I was writing 8 years ago. And so it's like,
Crazy.
it's been out there a while. But so we take for granted everybody must know. No, there's a lot of people that never even heard of what a keto is. So I
Right.
think you're still relevant in terms of the information you're sharing. You're doing all the things. And now you got Jesus in your heart to kind of give a little oomph behind who you are as a person, which was already a pretty remarkable person before. So thank you so much for coming on today. I'm glad we reconnected, and I love you, girl.
Love you too, Jimmy. Thanks so much for having me.